Hello, everyone. Welcome into Above My Pay Grade. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me. Got a couple stories I want to go over, and then I'm going to go through your questions. If you missed it today, we almost started World War III, so that was exciting. Um, this article here from Zero Hedge mentions, it escalated very quickly. Essentially, what they're saying now is a Russian missile was intercepted by Ukrainian air defenses, and then it kind of went off course into Poland, which kind of makes sense. It's like, why would Russia deliberately attack Poland and then hit them there with small arms, some non-significant attack, if you will? That doesn't make a lot of sense. But cooler heads have prevailed because earlier today, Vladimir Zelensky was saying, hitting NATO territory with missiles. This is Russian. This is a Russian missile attack on collective security. This is really significant escalation. Action is needed. So said Zelensky earlier today. And then Biden recently came out and has said it doesn't look like, it says it's unlikely that the rocket strike in Poland originated in Russia. So I don't know if he misspoke there because he said it's unlikely it originated in Russia. More to follow on that as that story develops, but people were saying, okay, we're going to World War III because you hit a NATO country and it's over. So once again, I don't know. It seems like I've said this before, but the first casualty of war is the truth. So there's a lot of iffy stuff going on over there. Let me dig into your questions. Let me know if you guys have any questions on that. First question here from my all-time favorite, Princess Consuela Banana Hammock. Eric, on a scale between The Road and Little House on the Prairie, how bad is it going to get? I think my opinion is oftentimes people think it's worse than it's going to get. That's typically our intuition, is we think worst possible outcome. Obviously, if we go to nuclear war, that's beyond all our imaginations, which I don't think is going to happen. But with I think the debt collapse, it depends on how badly central planners get. Like if they keep adding to more, and I got another story here about more central planning. If they keep adding to it, they're just fueling the fire of this misallocation of resources and government dependency, and that never ends well. You vote your way into communism, but you got to fight your way out, kind of thing. So I think there's plenty of smart people, but the problem is the vast majority of people want government to take care of them until they realize how bad it actually is. I've said this 1,000 times. People have to feel the pain before they realize the mistake. That's unfortunate. Part of our human condition. If we learn from history, we wouldn't be repeating it every 100 years or so. But yeah, I think it's going to be bad. I think the debt, I hope it happens slowly. That's my hope. I hope we transition to something in the free market offers, whether that be Bitcoin, gold, or silver, or what have you. And that transition happens slowly so when the debt collapses, we just step right over here. It's not this whole system falling down at the same time. That would be bad. If trust in the system ends, you can't go to the ATM, your bank, you can't withdraw from your bank, all that kind of stuff would be bad for society. Yeah, MNJ, I agree. That question is on a lot of people's mind. I try not to let fear, drive my day to day, but I think it's important to be aware. This is why I always hit back on the math. What does the math say about our debt? And that which can't continue won't continue. You know what I mean? So there will be an end to this debt cycle where we can't pay. It's this debt spiral that we'll eventually be in, and it's escalating quicker and quicker. That is a guarantee. How bad the outcomes of that are, I don't know. Trump announced today he is running. Oh dear, it's on. Yeah, I think I want. Uh, it's hard to be apolitical these days, but no politician's going to save us. He spent a ton of money while he was in office, um, and I know why a lot of people like him. And I think he strikes a chord with people. They think he cares, which is great, but he's not going to solve the debt problem. No politician's going to solve the debt problem. I was hoping Trump had the sense to move over and let DeSantis run. Yeah, you and me both. Um, he had his time in the sun, but I, that's the part I don't like about Trump is um, he won't humble himself ever. He doesn't take advice, which is not good for that position. My humble opinion. Um, from Cheap Cheap, can Trump be challenged on that or automatic? Yeah, I think the support for Trump is waning for sure. Again, I know why people support him, but we'll see. You know, see what happened in Florida. That was really great. Um, but I think people feel so disenfranchised in politics that they'll vote for anything that is not the system. Anything, literally anything, which is not necessarily a good thing. It's not. History has told us that, but the system has screwed them over and over again. Yeah, Ninja Nation. What's up, Jose? Let's see here. What series of events do you think will occur that will usher in a US CBDC? Oh, great question. I have this article here. Let's see if I can add it to this presentation. I was just looking at this today. Um, global banks are now testing a CBDC. What do you know? Okay. Global banks partner with New York Fed for a 12-week digital dollar pilot. Okay. Some of the world's banks giants are participating in a brand new endeavor alongside the New York Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve has their fingers all over this. They've been testing a CBDC. They're not hiding it. It's not conspiracy theory. They have been testing it and talking about it for a long time. Global banks are partnering with the New York Fed for a 12-week digital dollar pilot at a time when consumer confidence in blockchain chain transactions is at a low. This news highlights the fact that there are still real-world use cases for this technology. That I would agree with. And we'll get into what I disagree with here. Just in, this is from Watcher Guru. That's where this article's from. Here's from his Twitter. MasterCard, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and others launch a 12-week experimental digital dollar pilot with the New York Fed. All right, so here's the question. Why do you need banks? If you have a central bank digital currency, the theory is blockchain is your bank. So why it would kind of make banks obsolete. It would also make MasterCard obsolete. It would make Visa obsolete. So what do I think would usher in a CBDC? Pain. You know, it's the cure to the pain they caused, just like everything else they do. They break your leg and then hand you a crutch and have you thank them for it. So, yeah, I think a CBDC is inevitable, especially if you use game theory. Europe wants to do it. China's already doing it. But my issue with CBDCs, I don't think it'll be dystopian, by the way, at first. I think they'll sell it as a convenience or a security protocol to the masses. It will solve a problem, but it will have the capability of doing dystopian things like controlling your transactions, having an expiration date, yada, yada, yada. Not constitutional. We'll see who fights it in Congress. We'll see who says anything about it. But remember, the Federal Reserve is not federal and has no reserves. So this bank, this private bank, is developing this for, not elected, by the way, for the masses. Seems kind of odd. But it gives the Federal Reserve more control, more scalpel-like control over the economy than the tools they have now. Raise and lower interest rates, QE, QT. That's all they got. But now they can say, okay, we're going to directly um, pump liquidity in. We're going to draw liquidity out by making these dollars expire, and that'll just distort the economy even more. One thing these people just don't get is central control distorts everything, and they control the price of money, which controls the price of everything, and it has distorted that for sure. So to answer your question, Jose, that was a long answer to say, I think it'll be they cannot just introduce it and say, "Hey, see this? See this new thing? We want you to use it now," without there being a problem with the other system, and expect adoption to just happen overnight. It's not going to. My humble opinion. Who will support the pensions when they all discover at once they have no pension? In Canada, they will push MAID. I don't know what that is. Mandatory something, I would imagine. It'll be patriotic duty to self-delete. Oh, is that the assisted suicide that they have going on in Canada? The pension thing is a big thing because I tell people, um, there's these things like FTX. I've talked about that the last couple of days, and they're like, "Yeah, I would never invest in that." It's like your pension invested with it. The Ontario Teachers Union pension invested in it. Same thing with what was happening in England with their gilts or their bonds. The pensions were all over it. They were heavily invested in the bonds, and it caused the pensions to potentially go insolvent, and the Bank of England stepped in. So the same thing is going to happen, or can happen, with American pensions. Remember, they have to make some kind of yield, and with the stock market down, with real estate down, and with bonds, the ones they're holding, losing value, they're in the hurt locker big time. So they either have to have more pensioners pay in or people taking out less. And guess what? That applies to Social Security too. That's the 800-pound gorilla that no politician wants to touch. Yet it'll be the demise, or at least it expedites the demise of the dollar. Is the Social Security programs. Muchacho mas guapo. Love the show. Love the stash. Thank you, my friend. My wife's been hounding me to shave it, so. Sup, yo, sup. Polling calling for Article 4 tomorrow. Gonna tell your boy not to do it again. When you say your boy, do you mean Putin or do you mean Zelensky? I think that so Article 5, the way I understand it, is like immediate military action. Article 4 is like, hey, we need to sit down as a NATO and talk about this. That's good because cooler heads are prevailing. But yeah, it seems. Does anybody else feel this like idea that there's going to be some kind of false flag coming sometime, right? Some point there's going to be some kind of false flag. I don't know. It's just a feeling I have. Sell it as a stimulus buy only, use on certain things to bring in rationing. So yeah, they could do that. I think stick or carrot is the question. Like a lot of people don't respond to sticks. Just especially Americans, they don't respond to sticks. So if the government comes out and says you will use this thing, I'll be like, up yours. At least some people will. Some people will say, how many jabs? 97. Fine, but a lot of people won't use the CBDC. So I think they're going to use it as some kind of carrot. That's my opinion, meaning it's a solution to a problem that they created. So, silver in my stocking, yes. Hashtag silver in my stocking. That's from Economic Ninja. I'm a big fan of silver. I just started getting into precious metals really in 2020. But yeah. My beard is cool, but my stash sucks. Hey, I'm the opposite. But I can't grow a beard because I'm in the military. Do you concur? Okay, I concur. Yes, indeed. It does feel that way. If you're talking about, uh, if you're talking about the false flag, yeah, it's just there's so much distrust, and I don't want. Again, I've said this before, but a lot of people just discount everything people say because they say that's a conspiracy theory. That's crazy. If but all you got to look at the FTX story. The last couple days, you're like, what? This stuff is a movie. This is out of a movie. There are ties to Ukraine. There's ties to the Democratic Party, and you can make a lot of assumptions based off those facts. But my point is always A doesn't always lead to Z right away, but A does lead to B, right? So if you let the government have this power, then this thing will happen, and then B eventually leads to Z. So that's my why I'm always a huge. I'm a little nervous, and I advocate for no CBDCs, and I say I'm not going to use them. It's my red line in the sand because once you give the government the power to monitor from a central location, unelected bureaucrats from the Federal Reserve, every transaction, and they can basically shut you off from existing because you cannot exist in the economic system. Yeah, that's a power that they shouldn't have. A lot of you on this live stream probably agree, but the point is no one should have that power. It's not that the wrong person's in the seat, it's that no one should have the power in the first place. Um, from M&J, Stimmy. Do we think another Stimmy's coming? Things get bad enough. Yeah, it could be that could be the carrot too. It's like, hey, we got this new wallet with $10,000 of purchasing power. All you got to do is download it. Um, who knows? They're creative because they have a money printer. Jose, do you think the IRS building up a police force is a conspiracy? Well, I know that they were asking for people with military training. It does seem odd to hire 87,000 new IRS agents when the government has a debt crisis, right? Not if you need more income, but it just seems like an odd expense. Is the juice actually worth the squeeze? Because I can't remember. I think it was like $80 billion over 10 years. I could be wrong there. But are they going to get 80 billion more in taxes? If you think about it, $1 trillion, like they get 4 trillion in taxes. And at this point, I think they're squeezing blood from a turnip or from a rock when it comes to taxes, especially going into a recession. Taxes kind of remain the same in relation to GDP, no matter what the tax rate is, like their income compared to GDP, federal government. So, anyways, if true, do you think it will be a response to tax evasion? I think the government will use any power at their disposal. I don't think there's this huge cabal of there are evil people everywhere, but specifically the government. What happens when you give those people power that they shouldn't have? And yes, I think the IRS, by the way, the IRS does already use physical force. If you don't pay your taxes, don't pay your taxes. Where are you going to be? In jail. So yeah, they use physical force. Everyone who loses their pension gets an account at the new government bank of people with 2x the CBDC. If they had dollars in their pension, people would run for it. Yes, but I think how are they not going to avoid? How are they going to avoid inflation? And I got another story here that you guys I think will find interesting. Um, the BRICS nations. You guys are familiar. I think this is the deeper story behind what's going on because you got to think about how much power does the United States have because we have the world reserve currency. Like, really think about that. We have been able to export inflation. We've been able to print energy because energy is settled in dollars. It is a massive privilege. Who has it not really privileged? Typically the middle class, because we have to export all of our jobs. Because how do we export dollars? We are a net importer. That's how we export dollars. We send out dollars, we import goods. Okay, so everyone can make goods cheaper because we're the world reserve currency. But all that to say, there's 12 more countries applying to be part of this BRICS membership. Remember, BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And with these new 12 countries, if accepted, this new proposed BRICS membership would create an entity with a GDP 30% larger than the United States and over 50% of the global population. And here's the kicker: control of 60% of global gas reserves. Energy is the economy. I think we're figuring that out. Uh, I'm surprised they didn't know this, but you don't have an economy without it. And Europe's, Germany specifically, is figuring that out really quickly. Cheap energy means a strong economy. They aren't always synonymous, but you cannot have a strong economy without cheap energy. You can have a crappy economy and cheap energy, but you cannot have a strong one without cheap energy. So these new countries, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Algeria, Nigeria, Senegal, Argentina, Nicaragua, and they're starting to have their own currency, supposedly, or they want to start their own currency, supposedly backed by some form of commodity. What is that going to be? I don't know. But United States has kicked or gone to war. Muammar Gaddafi, he wanted to start his own gold backed currency in Africa. He ended up we ended up going to war with him. Gulf War, kind of the same thing. So it is a massive privilege. It is a geopolitical issue for the United States, but we would have a foot to stand on if we weren't inflating it away, right? If we weren't in this massive debt, if we had a strong balance sheet. But I don't think we even have a strong footing to stand on. So um, when you say stimmies, sure, but I don't know how we hand out more money without it just causing inflation. I just don't. Because we had this direct inflation from direct fiscal stimulus into the economy. We didn't have nearly as much inflation in '08 because that money went to banks, it didn't go to your average Joe and Jane to spend on more stuff. But stimmies do. Stimmies do. Okay, answer that one. Welfare payments like the Star Card for food. Yeah. Yeah, all this is possible, right? These economically illiterate politicians, for sure, I think would try a lot of this crap. Um, but they're economically illiterate, and so they think you can print purchasing power. You cannot do that. It's impossible. So no matter what they do, they're going to distort the economy even worse. It may take a year to figure that out, to figure out the consequences of their actions, but people might beg for it. But I don't know. People are a little bit wary about inflation. Inflation's kicking their butt, including mine. Right? Inflation's rough. Mishmra? How do you pronounce that? I probably nailed it. Heard a guy did a great vid on FTX that went viral, and his mod is freaking awesome. Was that nobody special? Yeah, he did do a great video on FTX. It's a wild story. It really is. And you know what's wild too is I think Michael Lewis, the guy, I think that's his name, the author who wrote The Big Short, he's been following Sam Bankman-Fried around for 6 months. And he's writing a book about him. That will be a must read. But there's always going to be charlatans. It's just crazy that people who are supposed to look for those charlatans don't even notice it and help them craft legislation. Kind of stupid. Yes, nobody special finance, perhaps. He's great. Very smart. That guy is freaking very smart. Let's see. Selected Services Act. The IRS is responsible for hunting down draft dodgers. That I did not know. We might be using that. Hopefully not. But I did a video. I'm in the military, and the recruiting is horrid, horrifically bad, and it's really not rocket science. You guys will probably guess why. But people don't want to join the military. A lot of people in the military aren't recommending it to their kids, because that's how a lot of people join, is through kind of like this legacy thing. My dad was in, my grandpa was in, and they told me to join. All those people, not all of them, but a lot of them are saying, "Don't join. Horrible idea." Um, so yeah, we might be using selective service here soon. Hopefully not. Thoughts on world population hitting 8 billion? Good question. I'm not. I think humans adapt really well, and ingenuity. Um, what was it? It was Bill Gates did this video about this kind of Malthusian video about world population, and he was saying that the richer people get, the less kids that they have. In poor countries, people have a lot of kids because um, the death rate's fairly high, and those kids often help them around doing manual labor, yada yada. And George Cameron said, and I thought it was pretty true, it's not their access to money, it's their access to energy that causes people to have less kids. Because energy is life, energy is the economy. And if you look at any of those countries who have a high birth rate, they have abysmal energy. They don't even have it. They are living in the Stone Age, burning wood for heat and all that kind of stuff. Can the world handle more people? Yes, but we need ingenuity. We need more energy, and that I don't think is the priority right now. People at the WEF, for instance, are Malthusians. They believe in depopulating the earth, except for them and their private jet, of course. Electrical prepper. Wait until the CBDC fails due to someone hacking the system. It'll become the new golden goose. The government sucks at pretty much everything. So the CBDC rollout, what do you think is going to happen? Imagine people at the DMV, and then on top of that, the private sector always out innovates. That's why they're having a hard time regulating crypto to some degree, is because you can out innovate them, out innovate their regulations. But yeah, if history has told us anything, it'll be a horrible failure, which fingers crossed that it is. Although I would say the one area the government kind of gets things done really well is collecting taxes. Really good at that. So my conspiracy theory is the draft is coming and the southern border is open to allow recruits in. The United States isn't keeping up with population growth, especially when it comes to like funding baby boomers and Social Security. I don't think that's too much of a stretch. Military age males, bring them into the country, yeah, potentially. I don't think that's too much of a stretch. It's logical, that's for sure. We will be sanctioned as soon as we lose reserve currency. There's a lot of countries pissed at the United States for good reason, unfortunately. And we don't have any. I mean, look what Europe's bargaining power with Russia. Like, they say things like, we're going to put a cap on how much people can spend on your oil, Russia. Like, what are you talking about? Like, who cares? Like, go to the gas station, as George Gammon says, and say, I'm not paying $4 a gallon or whatever it is. I'm only going to pay $2 a gallon. And they'll say, kick rocks, see you later. I mean, you need the gas, right? Russia or Europe needs the energy, and Russia's got the energy that they need. And Russia has asked potentially that they could pay in euros, but that would hurt the United States if Europe started paying in euros, but it would help Europe. So this NATO alliance has a lot of cracks in it when it comes to, hey, we could keep this NATO alliance and freeze this winter. Which one's more important here? Just a theory. That's exactly what they are doing. Oh, you're talking about the border. Yeah, I think I'm in the military. I don't know. That's a tough one because I know the military. I did a video on this. They've recruited in times of war. They've recruited mentally handicapped people to serve in Vietnam. So they're not above that. All right, thinking about the future of Bitcoin, how much more portable than gold coins, but eventually has to be converted to fiat to buy stuff. I think it'll pit countries against one another. Least regulated wins. Yeah, and if you saw, who was it? Janet Yellen. She wanted to come out with this like global business tax for competitive reasons, and basically to prevent, uh, like in the States, you can just be like, peace out, New York, peace out, California. You guys suck. I'm going to take my business elsewhere and my dollars elsewhere. And if your country sucks, then you can leave your country and do business somewhere else. Competition, game theory, yada, 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 draw people in. I agree with you that Bitcoin, it doesn't eventually have to be converted to fiat. Disagree with you on that. It could be a actual currency like it is in El Salvador. Like you can buy things and it's priced in Bitcoin. It's not priced in fiat that Bitcoin is converted to. But the question is trust, global trust, right? That's what's breaking down right now. How do you get that back? Through a gold-backed currency, maybe, but we already tried that and it was distorted. And how was it distorted? We had centralized controllers who were printing money against it, yada yada. That's why Bitcoin is different. It doesn't mean it's for sure going to be. There's no guarantees in life, but it has unique properties that nothing else has ever had in history. But yeah, I agree with you. The least regulated will win. Who is it? I forget now. Like some of the fastest growing countries right now are the least regulated. But I think more and more countries are going to adopt it. Small ones first because they have the most to gain from it. And the people gaining from the system we're in now, the United States and big banks and all that, obviously they're going to be the least or the last to adopt it because it hurts them the most. Right. Why on earth would the IRS need guns? They can destroy you with a pen, and you can't collect taxes directly from the barrel of a gun and not piss everyone off. Yeah, I mean, but they do have the barrel of the gun because if you don't pay your taxes, you go to jail. Well, at the end of the day, they don't come to your house and say pay your taxes. But if you say in protest, I'm not paying, this is unconstitutional, you'll go to jail. Corporate gouging is the biggest cause of inflation. I can kind of agree with you on this. Not to say they don't take advantage of supply and demand, right? Like oil companies. But I will say this: if corporate gouging or corporate greed, why didn't we have it in 2019? If corporate gouging is the cause of inflation, and they have the ability to gouge, why are they gouging now? And they weren't greedy in 2019, yada yada yada. So it's the free market and the competition that, obviously, if you're a monopoly, you can charge whatever price you want if people need your product. But it's the free market competition that comes in and says, hey, I can offer it at a cheaper price. Oftentimes, it's the government who causes that monopoly to happen, whether through regulations, a regulatory moat around the company. It prevents competition. So yes, corporations want more money. That is the nature of the corporation. However, I don't think it's that simple. I think government has a lot to do with the fact that there's no competition. With M1 as big as it is, we can't give money inflating prices to, unless inflating prices to meet the demand, like assets and liabilities. Yeah, I think it'll cause more inflation, especially if it goes directly into the average Joe and Jane's pocket. Right? It's not bailing out banks; it's going directly as to purchasing power. I don't think he realizes who I am. I don't. Who are you? I don't think I've seen this username before. Florida Rich. Heard Trump is running again. Good times. Yeah, it'll be entertaining. That's for sure. Okay. He does the live streams and is running commentary. Oh, got it. Got it. Now I get it. What's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Let's see. How do you let the wisdom flow? I don't know about that, but just thinking out loud. That's what I kind of love about this YouTube channel. Why I started it is get my ideas out there, bounce them off other people. It's kind of cathartic to think through this kind of stuff. And not that I don't have the solutions to all the world's problems, but I do know, I hold to this: central planning always corrupts, right? And I see the world moving towards central planning, especially when it comes to economics. And your average person, including me, a while ago or not too long ago, I was like, "Yeah, government spending is good." And I started to look into it, and I was like, "Holy cow! This stuff is not taught in school, maybe intentionally so." And I realized a lot of things I thought were true are not. So that's what I love about the YouTube channel, getting to talk with you guys and learn new things as well. Ah, yes. Are you the guy that sits next to Jack and is actually on the live stream? If that's the case, what is up? I've seen you many times. Let's see. Oh, Mish, the mod. Yes. Yes. Mishinra. Mishinra. See, I didn't recognize that. If it was Mish the mod, I would have known right away. All right, let's see if there's any more questions here. 441 credit. Least regulated wins a lot. I can see Bitcoin and many other small mineable altcoins turning into their own form of Forex market. That is, if it doesn't get regulated away. This is another thing to think about with game theory. Hey, if you regulate it, China did that. And we're going to see how it works out for them. By the way, there's still like 20% of Bitcoin mining happening in China. But if it is a technological breakthrough, if it leads to prosperity and freedom, that governments don't always want that. But if it leads to prosperity, governments typically do, because it gives them more power. So, as one, just like if an investment company starts investing in something and it's going gangbusters, all the clients at the other investment company are like, "Hey, why don't you guys invest in that?" Same thing can happen using game theory. Yes, Mish, I do recognize you. I just didn't recognize the username. Silly me. Thanks for tuning in. You're also very smart. So I like listening to you, and nobody's special. Um, Looks like there's no other questions. Yeah, I'm going to try to do these once a week. Oh, I got one more here. Sorry. I think the biggest misconception about inflation is the temporary aspect that prices of items will eventually return to what they were. I think people don't realize it yet. That I agree with. Inflation definitely is very complicated. Like what exactly causes it, how to turn it off, when it gets, what do they call it, embedded or entrenched in the economy. It's not this simple, like, okay, we'll raise interest rates and it'll stop. Because they tried that in the 70s. They raised it, it went down a little bit, and then it went right back up when they lowered interest rates. Partly it's psychological. All right, people buy more stuff if they think the price is going up. Um, but I've also heard it takes years to normalize inflation. Obviously, prices aren't going back to what they were. I try to part of my goal with this channel is to get people who don't think about this at all to get them to think like, hey, wait a second. Capitalism is designed to give you better products at a cheaper price. Why is everything more expensive? Everything I need is more expensive. Hospital, or medical care, housing, all the things I need, cars, they all go up in price. Why is that? If capitalism is supposed to be get more efficient, give you better products for cheaper, how is that even possible? It gets distorted by the federal government. That's how. Muchacho más guapo. Remember that time? This is a buddy of mine. I fell down a cliff once next to Macho Más Guapo. I only had one beer. I wasn't even inebriated. Me no smart. Me either. I love how ideas get bounced around the community. More minds root out what's really going on better together. I agree with you. Also, it helps you feel like you're not alone because you feel like you're taking crazy pills half the time. Um, like, this is like a very big deal? Like, you see this train coming with our national debt, and you're like, there's no politician talking about this. It makes you feel crazy. Is the military industrial machine turned back on? I don't think it was ever turned off. Um, but yeah, so military industrial machine, who was it? Eisenhower that warned about that. It's kind of it's very hard. This is why I say you need in the government, in the military, at the end of the day, you need people with honor and loyalty to something other than their own pocketbook. Because no matter what, if you put somebody in there who is motivated by something other than patriotism or whatnot, they're gonna um, vote in certain ways, right? That makes them rich. Um, how do you make business boom in the military world, right? Eric does a great job breaking things down. I agree. I would love to see more discussions like this. Great job, Eric. Thank you so much, M&J. You're great. I appreciate that. Um, just trying to understand as I go because I'm not the smartest guy in the slightest, but I try to break it down in normal people talk. So that's how I understand it. Yeah, have me on, Jack. I'd love to talk to Jack. We could talk to Jack about anything military if he wants to talk about that or whatever, the weather, whatever he wants to talk to. Let's see. I jumped in late, but I appreciate the thought-provoking issues Eric brings up. Thank you so much, Melissa. I like how Eric is slowly becoming more red-pilled. If he ever gets black-pilled, head to the bunker. I'm pretty red-pilled. So the one thing I try to be level-headed about is I want to take people who are on the other side of the aisle who don't think about this stuff at all and get them to the middle somehow. That's why I don't always talk about things in like this accusatory, or I don't want to make it political, but like if there's one thing we can agree on, it's math, hopefully, right? We can't agree on math, right? We might have different priorities. I want to spend on this, I want to spend on that, but can we at least agree that you can't just spend in perpetuity forever? And if we can agree on that, then we can go back from there. But we're always talking about the smaller things, like I want to spend money on this. It's like, we don't have the money at all. Like, let's start with that. And no one likes inflation. Everyone's dealing with it. Let's see. Where do you source the videos that you create the shorts for? Perusing the interwebs. I typically like look up fails and stuff like that on YouTube and record it, or a couple Instagram pages here and there. Let's see here. Elijah Hoke, this is my brother-in-law. Just had his birthday today. Tips on growing facial hair at 23. Well, I'll just say you need way more testosterone than you have in your body right now. So good luck to you. I can help you out with some T boosters or potentially something more natural to grow something like this. If my wife watches this, she's going to say shave it off tomorrow. The older lady curious about Mentos and Coke was hilarious. Also brings back Memoji yelling. Oh yeah, that was like early in the channel. I was like trying to make some comedy. You got to laugh. Um, I'll bring back some emoji yelling here. Uh, the Botox yelling. You kind of wonder, right? Like these people who are in government, you're like, yelling. She looks like a character from Sesame Street. Um, how did you get involved with all the other influencers? I think the economic ninja or financial prepper referred me to you a few months back. Yeah, good question. So I went to a economic ninja meetup here in Denver, and I had started watching him. That's how I knew the meetup was happening. And I always wanted to do like talk radio or whatnot, just say things out loud, I guess. And I've wanted to start a channel for a while. Things about the military too, because I see the military going in a bad direction. So, anyways, they kind of inspired me to start my channel. And then I messaged Economic Prepper one day, said, "You mind give me a shout out?" Yada yada yada, and he did. So they're great folks. Um, Even better in person. Uh, Genetics from 23 years ago. I know. Finally. I'm only 36, but I'm already feeling it. I'm a jumper in the military, so I jump out of airplanes, and takes a toll on the old bod. Um, Push really hard. Oh yeah, Elijah, if you go really hard, that your facial hair starts to grow. Chacho Masguapo, star card can be used in perpetuity. That's a military star card. I know. Never have to pay it back. Oh man, Common Core is how they hide it. Oh, LOL, my brain thinks like Common Core so that I can help my kids homework. Oh yeah, math. It is like that's the other thing I thought about doing after I get out of the military is like how just simple thing. Like people don't even know how money's created. Including I didn't know like 2 years ago. Like if you follow the chain of custody, you're like, where did this money come from? Things created out of thin air. And that would blow people's mind. As Henry Ford said in the early 20th century, he said, people understood how banking worked, there'd be a riot in the streets tomorrow. And he's correct. And these people obfuscate the truth and they give themselves special privileges because of this corrupt system. And now we're reaching the end of it. People don't always know the cause, but they definitely feel the pain of the system they're in. Car swimming tourism was great. Oh yeah, that was a fun one too. The WEF, that was a WEF commercial. Um, we started with 5K. What do you mean by that? 5K followers? Nice. I got 51 jumps, but I didn't love it enough to keep doing it. Got my pilot wrapped around my leg on 6 jump time slows. Oh my gosh. Yeah, what they're talking about is the pilot chute of the on a jump, which is very scary. Static line jumping, I do free fall and static line. Static line jumping is, I think, one of the only schools in the military where there's an accepted death rate. They don't shut down the school. Somebody dies. And the sad, crazy part. So you go to this jump school, and it's you do 5 jumps at jump school in Fort Benning, and your parents can come out and watch your fifth jump. And so they see thousands of people jumping out of C-17, fallen, and occasionally somebody just lawn darts all the way from the airplane all the way into the ground, and none of the parents know whose child it is. And it's just like, geez, I would never. Yeah. Anyways, um, money is created by mining it out of the earth. Ain't that the truth? Um, Money is gold. Some people think it's Bitcoin, and dollars are credit. What's your favorite PM? What does PM stand for? Let me know. I'll let you know. Oh yeah, yes, that's right. I liked Jack's talk in Denver here. Um, Jack is even more animated in person, which is great. He gave a great talk here in Denver. Positive news: Amazon announced 10,000 layoff, not as many as Meta. 11,000. I'm training my mind to think actually bad news and bad as not as bad news. Actually bad news. Well, I think the economic pain coming, like these kind of headlines, right? Amazon, Meta, FedEx. I don't know if you saw that during the busy season. Going into the busy season, they're laying off workers. Doesn't yeah that uh, that does not seem like it's a booming economy. PM means precious metals. I would say silver, um, but I am very much not a precious metals expert. I just got into precious metals, I would say 2 years ago. I put about 10% of my portfolio in between gold and silver, but, yeah, I'd say silver. Um, precious metals, my time is lost. Alright, yeah, guys, gonna wrap it up here, but, I wanted to thank everyone for showing up. Like I said, I'm gonna try to do these once a week or so. I love interacting with you guys, getting to know you. And I'll bring more stories to you guys as time comes out. I think we're living in an interesting time where the news is moving really, really fast. And if you're into macroeconomics, which I just got into 2 years ago, it's like the most exciting time. But thanks for tuning in, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one, probably tomorrow. See you guys later. Peace.